All right, welcome back for another edition of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I look at those little hidden treasures that are in those back issue boxes. This is not necessarily dollar bin stuff. Not every shop has dollar bins, but most shops do have back issues. And sometimes with the price back issues, there's still things in there that could be underpriced or forgotten about that are worth more than you might think. So these are the kind of little hidden treasures, those hidden gems that I want to tell you to keep an eye out for when you're digging in those back issue boxes because finding stuff underpriced is just as good as finding a dollar book. To me, at least, it's just things. Sometimes there are those treasures that just get forgotten about. They just get ignored. These are things that people might not be paying attention to that actually sell for a lot more than you might expect. Now, I'm not going to assume that everybody knows all of these books. Granted, a lot of you might already be very well aware of some of these books, but I don't want to take that for granted because there are a lot of newer collectors out there and they might not know some of these books that I'm going to bring up. So if you know about these books, great. Hopefully I have stuff in the list that you don't know about, but just remember I am trying to be as broad as possible when I'm making my selection. So I understand if some of these are just like old hat to you and you're like, oh, I already know about that book. You're not telling me nothing I don't already know because there are people out there who don't know about it yet. We all had to start somewhere. So I'm just trying to be as broad as possible when I'm bringing up, some ideas and options for this. This is why I'm covering like 10 to 12 books. So there's a lot of picks in this list. So I'm trying to reach out to as many people as possible here. We did just reach 1,500 subscribers over the weekend, so we will be doing a giveaway very soon. More details to come as we kind of finalize things. As I'm talking with the fellas, what we're going to be doing for that. So just keep an eye out here on Rennavision, and we will be getting to that giveaway very soon. With that said, hopefully you like what we're doing here on the channel. If you do, let me know in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Continue to keep telling your friends so we can keep growing. Like this is just one more step and one more rung on that ladder as I hope to keep climbing and growing this thing into something kind of special. So hopefully you're enjoying the ride with me, and you want to see what books I'm talking about this week, what hidden gems I have on my list. Just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I'll be right back with the books. All right. So for this week, we are going to start off very simple. Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man. There's usually a lot of books just kind of buried in those back issues because there's a lot of the ASM runs that just nobody really cares about. They're just kind of common, standard run filler type stuff. But anytime I find myself looking through boxes, whether they be dollar bin, $2 bin, three, whatever kind of discount bin, or even regular back issue bin, I'm digging through and I find Amazing Spider-Man. These are the types of books that I look for, and one of those being this. Silver Surfer Carnage crossover, issues 430 and 431. Because these books just have sold well for a while now. Again, I'm sure a lot of you are already well aware of these books and already know about these books. But like I said, not everybody knows everything. So I want to be as broad as possible and point and highlight some books that nobody's really looking about this book right now. This isn't a hot book for this week. There's no speculation related to Carnage and Silver Surfer showing up in anything anytime soon. So this is just a book that's just kind of always kind of been there. So it can be forgotten about and ignored. So that's why I'm bringing it up here. What does this book sell for? Well, if you look at the prices, it's still selling even now. $80, $40, and this is just a few days ago, just last week, these two sales. So anywhere from like 40 to 80 bucks, this is actually still selling for this amount. This is issue 430, the first part of this little two-part kind of crossover here. And if you want to look at what's out there right now, copies are listed in that 45 to kind of 60, $60 plus kind of range. There are some outliers, obviously. There's some higher, there's some lower, but in condition sensitive and all that. But this is just kind of broad strokes. This is the general range and the prices for this particular book. So that's kind of what I'm trying to cover while I'm showing you these things. So why I'm telling you this is you're probably not going to find this in a dollar bin. I'm not saying that you are, but what I'm trying to point out here is you might find this in a back issue bin at a shop and they might have it priced at like 10 bucks, $15, even 20 bucks. Then you have to start making those decisions. Is 20 bucks worth it? If I can get 40 to 80, that's up to you. Or if I need this for my collection, should I spend that 20 bucks now? Because if I buy it online, it's going to cost me 45 to 60. Again, decisions you can make for yourself. I'm just trying to present you some information and some pricing so you can make that call and make that decision for yourself. Because, like I said, this is just stuff that could be underpriced and just kind of forgotten about because, again, it's not like a hot book. Nobody's looking at this book right now, and there's no reason that they should. I'm not saying that they should either. This is the kind of stuff I like looking for because I like Silver Surfer, I like Carnage. So I'm looking for this book when I go digging because I like it. Plus, I know other people like it as well, which is why I'm spotlighting it here on Hidden Gems. So maybe it's not all that hidden. Again, I don't want to assume that not everybody knows about this or everybody does know about this. But with that all said, let's go on to the next book in the run. That's issue 431. Another very cool cover here. Again, Carnage, Silver Surfer crossover, front and center. Bright red cover, kind of jumps out at you. And yes, I did actually find these in dollar bins, a while back. But this is stuff that you can find sometimes in the cheap boxes. But I'm just trying to make you aware that even if you find it priced, what these are actually going for still. So that's the thing that you might have forgotten about. It might not have been aware of. So you might have known this book, but you might not have known this is still 40 to 80 bucks. Now, this particular one, however, is going for about $60 to $85. Maybe it's because of the red cover. Maybe it's because it's got the Carnage symbiote on the Silver Surfer. I'm not sure of what's driving this one to be a little bit higher than the other. But this one is, as you can see, March 17th, March 14th, $60, $85 sales for this book. So this is still very pricey for what it is. And if you want to go buy one, the available copies are in that kind of $50 to $75 range as well. So the prices of what's selling and what's available are pretty consistent. And this is still kind of up from when I remember this book. This used to be like a $30, $40 book. Now it's $60 to $80. That's the kind of thing. Sometimes you might not be aware of the inflation on some of these old standard books that you've known about for years, but you're just not aware of where they're at right now. So you might flip through it in a back issue box thinking it's only like a $30 book. It's like, I'm not paying 20 bucks for this. But would you pay 20 bucks for it if you can get 80? Again, decisions for you to make for yourself. But that's all I'm trying to do here is present you with some options and some books that might be still tucked away in those back issue bins, at a shop or wherever you're picking up your comic books. Moving on, we're going to stick with Marvel for a little bit and going to go over to Alpha Flight for a couple of books. First one being Alpha Flight 33. I'd considered doing this one for Forgotten Firsts. Maybe, we'll get around to that eventually. But this is the first appearance of Lady Deathstrike. Yes, this is the character that I was actually in, X2, the sequel to the X-Men movie from, way back in the early 2000s. Pretty cool character and one that, might get popular again, especially if we bring the mutants over into the MCU. This is an easy villain to kind of throw up against Wolverine again. Is one of his more popular villains because, again, she's got the, similar power set and can cross claws with him very easily. And even this book used to be just like a $5, $10 book. It's starting to creep up now. Look, there's still copies selling for $10 there on March 5th, but then on March 10th, 22 bucks. March 15th, $40. Again, condition sensitive on these things, but still up to $40 if you can find a decent copy of this book. It's kind of surprising to me because, like I said, this was always just like a $10, $12 book at most. But now you can get up to 40 apparently. What's available if you go shopping online? There's still a lot of those $10, $12 I'm talking about, and even $20 asks. But look at how some of these sales are kind of sneaking through because of newsstand. Again, I don't see the huge draw for newsstands for a lot of these books because, as I said, do your research. Not all newsstands are created equal. Newsstands throughout the 80s were actually more plentiful for a while because there weren't a lot of direct market shops. Direct market shops didn't always exist. So most books were all newsstands and were mostly newsstands for a good stretch of the 80s before they eventually kind of split into that direct market, doing more of a 50-50 until we started to get more into the 90s where it was more direct market sales and less newsstands. But just be aware of that when you're looking at some of these books, because just because somebody listed as newsstand doesn't mean you should always be paying a premium for it. That's all I'm saying. Now, this is one Alpha Flight book. Because again, I know you see those Alpha Flight books when you're digging through back issue bins, or you see it at a shop and you see it got the little tags up like Alpha Flight. I'm not even going to bother looking through the Alpha Flight section. I think you should flip through it because there's always a couple of books that I look for when I see, again, that little card, that little category. And this is one of them. I'll always look for 33. And another one I always look for is 51 because I admittedly am a very big Jim Lee fan. Jim Lee is one of my favorite artists going back to when I was a kid. He got me really into comics. So I always look for Jim Lee books, and this is one of the first Jim Lee interiors, I believe, here on a Marvel book in this Alpha Flight number 51. So this one, pricing can be like weirdly inconsistent on this, but I always look for this, particularly in dollar bins. But I always look for this book because, again, I like collecting artists, the books that artists do, especially their early works. It's just a fun little thing because I like comic art and I like comic artists. So those my favorites. I like looking for all the books I can find throughout their portfolio. I'm never going to collect all of them because I mean a lot of these guys they draw a lot of books, but I particularly like doing those early books before they hit it big. And Alpha Flight 51 is one of those books for Jim Lee that I like to look for. Now, what does this thing sell for? Well, again, 20 to 25 bucks seems to be the range. Most of those sales are in February because I couldn't find any recent sales, for that, but still, that's February's not that long ago. It was only a few weeks. So 20 to 25 bucks is still kind of impressive for a book that, again, you could probably find in some dollar bins, but you most likely can find in a back issue bin for a couple of bucks maybe. So just something to be aware of. Even if you go look at online now, you can see there's like $10 copies and there's $25 copies. I mean, I'm not saying buy any of that. I'm just, again, presenting the information so you can see what the market is right now, how much things are selling for, what's also available right now. If you were to go find one of these books, in a box and you wanted to go look for it. So just keep that in mind. But again, this is early Jim Lee work, which is why I like it. Speaking of which, I don't know if you were aware of, I think this is actually Jim Lee's first published work, which was back in Samurai Santa. Yeah, I know. It's odd title. Samurai Santa. Odd book. Solson. They did those. They did a lot of like those ninjutsu books, a lot of the kung fu kind of karate type stuff. I like some of those comics. I'll grab any of those comics if I find them in the cheap boxes because I like that kind of stuff. I have them around here somewhere. But Samurai Santa was one I had to hunt for a while because I could not find it at a shop. I think I ended up paying up a little bit for one online, but sometimes that's what you got to do. But I always look for it when I'm in a shop. Anytime I see anything in like those weird indie boxes or weird indie sections, I'm flipping through in case I can stumble upon, a Samurai Santa while I'm flipping. So why should you also be aware of the Samurai Santa apart from it being first Jim Lee? 30 bucks up to 100 bucks this thing can sell for. Again, that $100 was back in January, but those March sales still $33 to $56 at auction with multiple bids means there's multiple people still aware of this and are still shooting for this book. So those prices look actually low when you compare it to what's actually available right now for sale. So if you want to go buy it now, look, $135 are the asks. There is an auction that might be ended by the time this video airs on Monday. I am doing this on a Sunday afternoon before the Star Wars show to get this done and out of the way, which is why I'm drinking Mountain Dew instead of my usual adult beverage. But these things, you might want to pay attention to the auctions because you might be able to sneak one for cheaper than obviously those buy it now prices. If you really are considering picking up a book like this because you really want it as well. Again, I'm a big Jim Lee fan, so that's why I had to have one in my collection because again, it was first published Jim Lee. I wanted that in my PC personally. But you never know what you might find when you're digging in a box at a shop. So just be aware of its existence is all I'm saying. And then once you find it, if you find it for whatever price it might be listed at, that's when you make the call. That's why I'm giving you the prices so you can make that decision once you find what your shop has. Again, all shops are going to price the books differently. I don't know what your shop's going to price it at. I don't know if they're doing eBay pricing. I don't know if they're still using Overstreet, which you can cross your fingers and hope for. Because if you find a shop still using Overstreet, do not give it up. Do not let that place go. That is a place you want to keep in your back pocket to go to hunting for books as time goes on. But not many shops do that anymore. That said, Samurai Santa, just be aware of it. Just know that it exists. That's all I'm saying. Moving on, we're going to move over to DC real quickly. DC, I like looking for this book because it can be found in a few different areas. It can be found under Batman stuff. It can be found under Brave and the Bold. A lot of people don't like digging in Brave and the Bold because there's not a lot of Brave and the Bold to go and really find. There's not a lot of interest in that. There's not a lot of interest in DC in general, especially these days, but that doesn't mean you should automatically ignore it. This Batman book, anniversary issue 200 of Brave and the Bold, is the first appearance of Katana in the Suicide Squad. Another fun little character. Yes, we've seen her on screen already, so what's really the upside? Who knows? But it's still a fun first appearance to go and find for cheap if you can find it, which is why I'll just look for it while I'm going digging in a box. What does this thing still do, despite the fact that she hasn't appeared on screen in a few years? This is still as cheap as $5 on March 12th. Buy it now for just under $20. to as much as $60 on March 14th. All over the place with the prices here. All over the place. Again, condition sensitive, like the higher grade, you're going to be paying a little bit more for, obviously. As you can see, that $60 sale is saying it's 9.6, but they're all books. You make the call when you see the book yourself of what you think it is and how much you're willing to pay for it. But pricing on this book is kind of all over the place. Even what's available now, at the time that auction's got to be done, that $10 auction. I don't know if it actually got any bids or what it got bid up to, but then 20 to 30 bucks is kind of like what a lot of the listings are for this book. So there could be cheap ones, again, thrown up for auction. Keep an eye out for those, but the buy it nows are generally in that 25 to $30 range for this book. So again, if you find it in a box and it's only like $5, that's why I'm telling you to pay attention. Just know what these books are. So when you see them, if you see that they're underpriced, then you can make that call of whether you want to buy it or not. So that's all I'm hoping to do here again with this series. I keep saying it over and over again, but I just want to make it clear of why I'm talking about these books. So if you have any questions, again, hit me up in the comments, hit me up on Instagram. I'm happy to chat and talk comics with anybody. But that's what we got here for Brave and the Bold. We're going to go moving on over to Power Girl, who I have sit next to me here. Now, I'm sure everybody knows, like I do, and I'm, again, a huge Adam Hughes fan, so I know to look for the Hughes books because I'm looking for them. Always looking for Hughes books. Anytime I see a Hughes cover, if the price is right, I'm buying it, even if I have it already. I don't know why it's a habit. It's a compulsion almost, but the Power Girls are always fun, and you can see here with Power Girl issue 1, this is technically, I don't know if this is the A or the B cover, but it's just a regular cover. It's not an incentive here, but it's still $20 to $35 if you look there at those March and February, end of February sale prices. So that's kind of what this thing can go for. Auctions for all three, actually. These were not buy it now prices. If you do want to buy it now and you go online, you're looking at more of $40 to $50 asks. So that's why auctions might be the best way to go if you're intent on buying one online. I'm just saying, be aware of these Hughes books when you're digging through boxes because maybe you get lucky and find a Power Girl just marked for like $10 or something like that. You never know. You never know. As the shops bring in new collections and things like that, they can't reprice everything. A lot of things they'll just go off of memory of, you know what, this used to be a $10 book because it did. It used to even be a $20 book, which is kind of where it's at, I guess, now. But it's also a little bit plus. So, again, just be aware of its existence. So, in case you stumble across it, you can make that call. This is issue 1. I've got issue 2 sitting next to me, which is, I think, another popular one that I also like. I mean, I got the 9.8 here. But this is just a really cool cover. It's got that negative space kind of quality there, which is another little niche collectible that I also am drawn to. So that's why I think I paid special attention to this one because of like that negative, space kind of aspect with the white there. But this, if you look at the sales on this book, this is, again, $26 to $40, kind of in that same range as issue 1. Adam Hughes. This is again like a B cover, I believe. This is not an incentive for this series. So this is just another regular cover. So there's a chance you can find these in shops because this is not like it's like tiny print run. Might have been a lower end of print run for DC, but there could be copies still out there and they could be listed for a relatively decent price. And if you look online, however, you may not be getting those decent prices because people want, 50 to 70 bucks for this one. That's what I'm talking about. So maybe you find it in a shop for 20. Is that better than paying 50 to 70? Absolutely. Do you want it that badly? That's up to you. So that's issue 2. And the last one I think you should really be aware of. It's really sneaky because this goes back to another topic that I bring up a lot of with dollar bin digging is those final issues, those last issues, because a lot of times those really can command a premium because of the lower print run. And that's especially the case here in Power Girl 27. This is, I think, Warren Lau's first actual cover, and it's DC cover. This is gorgeous. This is a gorgeous book, and it is pretty pricey these days. So I don't know if you are aware of how pricey this is, but this book, if you can find it, issue 27, sells for $100 plus, as you can see there. March 13th, March 4th. So these are March sales. These are expensive. This is an expensive book. Asking prices on this, 120, 130 raw, a 9.8 asking $400. So not a cheap book. So that's what I'm saying. I didn't know if everybody's aware that that's where this book was at. So if you found it in a shop and it's marked $40, you go, wow, that's expensive for a Power Girl book. But is $40 expensive? If you look at these prices, again, I'm just throwing numbers out there. Again, I don't know how your shop prices. I don't know what you've got in your area. I'm just, again, using that as an example of when you might consider it. Granted, if you go to your shop and they have it on the wall and it is marked $100, Well, then it's marked $100. They apparently marked by the eBay prices. So you should be aware of that as well. So you know what you're looking at. But not everything gets caught. Some things get missed and overlooked and ignored. And again, I don't know how many people are looking at Power Girl books these days. I am right now just because it just crossed my mind. So hey, let's bring up Power Girl. So when you're digging in boxes, you see Power Girl. These are the ones I always look for, just in case that they're there. There's also a decent bit of 1 in 10s that run through a few of these issues earlier on. I'm going to actually cover one of these tomorrow for Chasing Ghosts. So keep a lookout for that Power Girl book coming tomorrow. But we're going to move on from DC back over, not really to Marvel, but we're actually going to go to Malibu. You guys remember Malibu? The Ultraverse? Well, those crossovers are pretty interesting. There's a Silver Surfer crossover that you should also look at, but this Rune versus Venom is a fun book. I always like Rune. It had that Barry Windsor Smith art, fantastic art, probably some of the best that the Ultraverse had. And you cross it over with Venom, who's a very, very popular character, especially at that time for Marvel. I mean, this is the '90s. This is straight up '90s. This crossover and this book. And again, I don't know if you were aware of this book or not, but if you find it a dollar book, dollar bin, absolutely pick it up because this thing could sell for a few bucks. This is, $20. 13, 18, but that's out of the UK. So there's also $20 shipping on top of that. So that's actually over a $30 sale. And then you can see one way down there in February, only 99 cents at auction. So this is one that you could sneak for cheap, but you can see also has some possibilities for much higher sales if the circumstances are right. So some people can sneak ones for cheap down there, like for those 99-cent auctions, which is why I always say look at auctions when we're looking at some of this off, off market, not hot, kind of forgotten about, ignored type stuff. Always look for auctions because you might not have competition because nobody else might be looking but you right now. Now, what's on the market for this? 15 to 20 bucks. And again, I know that's not a huge deal, but I think you should still be aware this is 15 to 20 bucks in case you find it in a $1, $2 bin or something like that. And you go, what is this silliness? Well, spend the $2 because you might be able to get 20 for it if that's, your inclination and that's what you want to do. You want to go and flip a book, try to sell it for yourself to get something else. Totally up to you. Everybody can do this hobby however they want a hobby. You want to go try to flip books? Nothing wrong with that. I say occasionally sell books too. Sometimes you got to sell books to buy other books. So you do what you got to do. But I'm just trying to give you options of things that I look for that are underpriced. So this is the kind of thing I like digging for. So hopefully you keep an eye out for this one as well. Sticking with Malibu though, we're gonna go over to Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat books. Yes, we know we're getting a sequel movie coming, and I actually liked that first movie that came out. It wasn't great, but it was entertaining. I was kind of into it, and I am looking forward to what they could do with the sequel. But this is technically, I guess, the first Mortal Kombat issue. This issue 0 in this Malibu again, this Malibu book. So keep an eye out for this if you can find this cover. While I mean, it's worth looking for a lot of more. Not maybe not a lot. There's a few Mortal Kombat books to look for. I do have another one on this list, but this in particular, this issue 0 is one you should always look for first because again, it's the first issue starting off the run. And you can see that this book could sell for anywhere like 25 bucks, 25, 30 bucks, especially when you add shipping into it. Because I mean, whoever's buying it has to pay that shipping. So that is part of their cost for this book. So 25, 30 bucks is what you can see if this thing is selling for. But if you want to go shopping for one, the prices are going to be more in that, $20 to $40 range, a little wider. Little margin there, but still opportunity if you can find one of these for cheap. Again, Mortal Kombat. But particularly when you're digging through the Mortal Kombat books, look for this next one. And this is Katana and Melina. Yes, the female characters always will have a higher premium, and a spotlight on a cover will make that book immediately more sought after. It's just the nature of things. It's just the nature of this hobby. And you can see it right here. Why, other than that, do you think, and then maybe a lower print run, is this book selling for as much as it is, which is 50 to 100 bucks? Were you aware that Katana and Melina was a 50 to $100 comic? And these sales are all from February, so it's not that old. It's just last month, just a few weeks ago. All of them. I wasn't aware of it until I started digging and looking. And here we are with a book that, like I said, this is what I've been doing. I do the research and I stumble across things that it's not immediately all right on the top of my head. So I'm adding this to even my own hunting, not rapport, like my Rolodex in my head. This is one I know now to keep an eye out for because of what it goes for. And look, this is even early Greg Horn art down there. So Another fun little nugget to keep in mind. He didn't do the cover. I think he did interiors on this one. But what is this on the market? You can still see it's 50, 65, $75. It's still expensive. So if you can find this cheap in a box, $5 in a box or something like that, absolutely. I say you got to consider it because there's a market for it. There's people looking for this. So just something else you should be digging for. Something else you should be mindful of when you're flipping for those boxes. Again, that's the idea of what I'm trying to do here. I don't have all of these books. I'm not trying to sell these books. I'm not trying to pump these books to sell them to anybody. These are the things I'm hunting for. These are the things I look for when I'm digging in the box. I look for them to see how they're priced because I can see that there is a possibility that I might be able to get something extra for it. It is maybe more valuable than what the cost is. So that's what I'm trying to share as we go through, more books throughout this series. I'm having fun doing this because this is how I go shopping. This is how I go digging, and I don't mind sharing the books that I go looking for. I mean, it's no skin off my back. If you can find it before I do, congratulations. I'm not going to try to be sneaky and quiet and keep everything to myself. I'm going to share what I know with whoever wants to hear it. So hopefully you enjoy that. Hopefully you still enjoy everything here on the channel. Thank you for stopping by and checking this video out, as well as hopefully you check out all the other stuff here on the channel. I do live shows on Wednesdays and Sundays. Sundays Star Wars. Wednesdays I do the tax show with Marco and Corbin. We go over some fun stuff, some pop culture stuff, some news for the week. And then I also have, the Dollarman digging video, the Chasing Ghost video, and then a few others that I mix in when I have time and availability to do it. Again, I do this for free. This is my spare time. This is my hobby. I do this because I like it. And I try to find as much time as I can to make these videos and share them with you guys. And hopefully you're still enjoying them. So again, let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And with that, I will see you guys soon with some more content, particularly Chasing Ghosts tomorrow. Later.